Welcome to the SLC. This week, we're going to go over change of direction, and we're going to do some progressions of how we can get you into game ready type situations. Whether you're coming off of a long period of inactivity or you're coming back from an injury, there is going to be something for everyone to be able to kind of get into it. Some of this lower level stuff that we're going to show you is you can do this year round. You can always have it in your warm-ups or your game prep or anything like that. And then we will get to more in-depth stuff by increasing the intensity and cut angles and talking about the footwork and what we need to do to be able to get into positions and help ourselves be successful. Last week we talked about part the whole practice, and a lot of that stuff will come into play this week as well, as we are learning new things and trying to get into this change of direction that we're going to do. And so when we get into this, just know I'll break it down and I will give you some basic skills. And then after that, we can build off those basic skills to be able to get better and make sure that we are moving in the direction that we need to be able to get to be game speed and game ready. First and foremost, one of the most simple things that we can do by getting ourselves ready or getting back into it is an easy, simple isometric. We can sit and into deceleration angles. I can sit and I can just hold this position. I can hold it for 20, 30 seconds. I can do things out of this that allow me to get ready to be able to handle deceleration and get those change of directions. To be able to move out of that, I can sway in and out of those things. I can sway in and out of this isometric. Now we are moving, so it's not really an ISO. I can sit and I can pulsate or oscillate out of that front leg and get ready to go. And then once I kind of build off of that, I can also go both legs and I can hit a low level or a deep tier plyometric that allows my muscles to be in condition to be able to handle or start handling the loads that I'm about to ask it to do. Not only can I just do that in a linear fashion, but I can also do that in a lateral fashion. If I'm coming out, I can get into a position where I am going to be coming to the side. I can mimic that penultimate step, and I can hold this position. I can sway in and out of this position while working on keeping my chest up. But from that sway, I can go back and forth, and I can work both angles of that while working on the mechanics. I can oscillate off that one leg. I can switch and I can oscillate off that other leg. And so isometrics are an easy thing that we can do to help start conditioning the muscles to be able to get in. And I'm going to show you a different isometric that you can also do. Another ISO you can do if you can have a structure that's not going to move. I understand this is a pad and it's going to be a little squishy, but it is connected to a metal pole that's not going to go anywhere, and my back against it, and I can get a foot angle that would be kind of like I'm coming into a deceleration, and from here I can take this leg up or I can put it down on the ground. It's completely up to you on what you want to do, but I can push hard into this pad, into this pole, and simulate a little bit more forces. I can relax, and I'm going to go for about 3, 5, maybe 10 seconds at the most, because at that point I can only put so much force into that, and the muscle can only take so much before it's just going to start dissipating with the force, and you're not going to be able to push as hard. So I can switch, I can push hard into this, 3, 5, 10 seconds, relax. I can switch and I can go back and forth. If I want to try to mimic that angle a little bit more, I can try to get the foot closer to the pole to be able to push into it for a hard 3 to 5 seconds and switch legs if I want to. I can do that same thing getting into that change of direction. If I lean into the pole, I can get that outside leg and I can push into this the exact same way, but I can also use that inside leg to be able to do the same thing and mimic trying to change that direction of being able to get out. So if I were to come to break down, hit that ultimate step, then I'm trying to push and get back this other way, I can mimic these angles that I'm going to get into while holding an isometric and be able to condition the tendon and the muscle before we start putting a lot of force while sprinting into it in hard change directions. I can prep myself to make sure that I'm successful moving forward. This becomes back just like the thing we talked about last week. This is part to whole practice. This is something that can introduce you back into the skill without going full bore, that I can make sure that I am successful moving forward. Now, progressing from there, I showed you those deep tier plyos or those oscillations in place. And now if I want to progress them to the next level and getting back into it, now I can start moving, right? I can move from that position and I can go forward and I can go backward. I can work on getting these down as motion starts to move forward and I start to gain speed. The great thing is if I'm trying to sit here and do this and it's like, oh, that's just a little too much, I can take weight off that front leg and I can put it back on the leg that's stationary. I can go a 60-40 or I can go a 70-30. I can utilize that to be able to help myself progress forward by taking more weight off that front leg and putting on the back leg, or then I can just start using this back leg as a kickstand so I'm not falling over and I can put 80, 20, 90, 10. I can progress that to move. I can also just sit and I can do some lateral stuff. I can get into a lunge position and I can go side to side. I can do that same thing, working on getting that leg outside the center of my mass to be able to move side to side in direction. Same concept. If I can't handle that with the front leg, then I put a little bit more pressure on that back leg to be able to accommodate what I need to. And then as I get better at it, then I can put more weight on that front leg to be able to handle the demands that I'm about to give it. Change of direction is pre-planned, and that's okay. Having a pre-planned change of direction to be able to build the capacity that we need to be able to be game ready is a good thing. We want that. Change the direction is pre-planned so that I know where I'm going, so that I'm able to build my skills, my confidence to be able to grow the speed at which I can change direction, and then feel confident at changing the angles of what I need to do. And so to build that helps us build confidence and trust in the process that when it is an open environment and I am getting to agility, I'm having to react off of what's going, putting myself that are going to be close to game angles and at speed that I need to, that I'm confident that I can break, change directions and come out of it, or stop on a dime and make sure that I'm able to play the next series. As we progress into the next thing, we want to talk about how the foot placement should be and where we should be at with the angles of our shin and our body and our hips and our shoulders. And as we go and we're working on that change of direction, we want to make sure that when we have that plant leg, and let's say I'm coming to my right and I got to plant and go back out to my left. When we plant that leg or that foot, we want to have a slight turnout of the foot. The slight turnout of the foot allows me to get more of a purchase on the instep of my foot so that I can get into those angles and be able to push. We want the knee inside the foot. I'm not talking about like knee inside the foot while the hip stays there. I'm talking about knee inside the foot while the hip is inside the knee, because we are trying to change directions and go back to my left if I'm coming to my right. This allows me to get more purchase. If I have my foot straight forward, that allows the ankle to have more movement. And we want to try to be as solid as possible. So we want a slight turnout so that we can get a better purchase and we have more stability through the ankle while we are pushing to go in the other direction. Like I said, we want the knee inside the foot. We want the hip inside the knee to the direction that we want to go. This last leg, or the penultimate step, is my rudder. I get to choose where I'm going, and that becomes my direction of how I push and go off, because I'm trying to get into acceleration angles. So we want to make sure that we're foot's down, we're in a good position to load that quad, that glute, that soleus to be able to stop. Foot is a plant foot, full foot contact, blocking, right? I don't want to be on my toe. I'm trying to shoot a cannon out of a battleship, not a canoe. So I want to be solid, stable, so that I can push, redirect, and get open. So while I come into this stop, I want to make sure that my foot is slightly turned out. I am starting to get those angles that I need to be able to turn into the direction that I need. So these are good foot placement, good knee and hip placement that we make sure that we're going to be successful. If we're having a hard time understanding, maybe just coming in and getting the plant is the best way to go. Plant is the best way to go. Part to whole practice, like we talked about last week, is we can break those skills down into individual steps so that we're successful. As we start to feel comfortable with it and we get that foot placement down, or we're working on that penultimate step to get out, then I can start speeding it up and add other things. And so the next one would be, as I step and I get going, then it's getting that foot down and in position or starting to pivot so that I can get a crossover run and be able to punch and get out of that next position. Now, as we learn that, now we can start putting into play. So let's just say I am coming to the camera and I have to go 180 degrees, or if I don't want to go that far and I'm not going to go hard at this, I'm going to ease into it, right? So if I'm coming at the camera, I can work on the penultimate step, get in that position and get out. I can work on that and I can come to the camera. I can work on getting that foot down, getting the angle that I need with the foot slightly turned out, getting that knee inside the toe or foot and that hip inside the knee, and work on opening up those hips and then projecting my torso also to the direction I want to go to be able to turn out. So now I can add those and I can start speeding it up and add step by step of where I need to go to get out. And I can slow into it. And then as I feel confident and comfortable, then I can start going faster and I can add more steps to be able to move and do what I need to do. We have the two sides, so I want to make sure that I'm hitting both of them to be able to push and get out, make sure that I'm redirecting and going. The faster I come into the actual motion, the steeper my angle is going to come out, right? So if I'm going slow and I need to work on this, I can work on those positions by staying a little bit more upright. But as we get faster, we're going to have to learn how to sink and get into that penultimate step by sitting down into that chair to be able to hit and go, and then be able to redirect and get out. A change of direction, our center of mass is going to lower, right? We want to make sure that that penultimate step is the one that is taking most of that force, because if I don't allow that penultimate step to take that, that means the weight's going to shift into the other leg and my momentum might go and continue to go over to where I'm coming into it and I have to come back out, right? Or I sit and I have to pop and hop a couple times to slow myself down to be able to get out. We want to make sure that we are in control, that this second to last step is the one that as it's coming, it is sitting. I'm sitting in a chair, I am sinking, it's taking the force and decelerating, while this one is getting into good position to purchase the ground so that I can redirect, pick that up, and then get out and use it as my rudder to be able to direct me where I need to go. So if we have to, and we're getting here, we're going too fast, and it's like, oh, and I'm coming at you because most of that weight's sitting down. That is a blocking leg to be able to hit and get out of that position. So we got to make sure that that second to last step, or that penultimate step, is the one that's able to handle the forces that I'm asking it to do, so that I can get into position and I can start working in those positions to be able to get a full foot purchase, right? We want to make sure that the full foot contact is on the ground. Being on the toes is hard. All that force is coming down into a small surface area, right? Where if I have a full foot contact, that allows me to be able to get more of a purchase on the ground, be able to push out harder, and then I'll also be able to get that foot and ankle in the right position to be able to handle that punch out and a crossover drive. To be able to add intensity to a change of direction, we just get into longer distances, right? So if I'm coming in from 2, 3, 5 yards, I'm not going to be able to get to full speed. And so without getting to full speed, it doesn't have that high of a demand, where if I'm running 15, 20, 25 yards or meters into something and then have to hit a cut. And so to build off the progressions of these change of directions, hopefully you can see these cones behind me. With these cones, they're set up at 30, 45, 60, 90, 90 degrees, 130, and then 135, and then a 180 would just be coming straight back to the camera. And so with that, if I'm trying to slowly incorporate more change of direction, the 30 and 45 degree angles are going to be the least taxing on my body. I can run and hit a step and change directions without having to slow down my speed. Once I start getting out to 60 and 90 degree angles or steeper, I'm really going to have to slow down and almost get my body to zero to be able to change directions. And so those are more demanding. So as we get into change of directions and we move forward, we might just want to start at keeping it at the 30 and 45 degree angles at first and at a shorter distance. So if I'm coming into it, I can take these soccer lines in front of me here. I can start here hit this center cone, and then from that center cone, I can change directions to my right or to my left. And so this will keep me at a slower speed. It won't be as taxing and forceful as I'm getting into it and trying to change direction coming out. And so that allows me to build off of that. And then I can slowly start coming back, right? Let's talk about more defensive maneuvers, right? And so for defense, right, I am going to be in that squared position. And at some point in time, I might need to backpedal or I might need to turn and run. And it's going to be a crossover run. But with that, I can do these steps and build off of that by just staying still. And from this position, I'm going to have to probably see what my offense is doing or the person that's attacking me. But I want to make sure that I can keep my chest upfield and my vision upfield. But I'm going to have to turn my hips to be able to potentially run with them and get going. And so with that, we can sit and we can break down that process right here by just opening up the hips. When I open up that hips, I am working on the angle that I'm going to. So my foot is opened up slightly. My shin angle is inside my foot. My hips are inside my knee. And then from there, I can get into that position to be able to push out and crossover punch or crossover run. So I can just break the position down by just opening up, working on getting into that angle. From this angle right here or this position right here, now I can open and do just a crossover or a shuffle out of it. So if I'm in position, I'm ready to go, I can go here, I can shuffle, I can do it to the other side, open, shuffle, and get out. Or from that position too, I can also, my defense, I can open up and I can do a crossover step and run. I can add these in slowly and I can just give it a part to whole practice. Once I'm ready to go, then I can start adding more. I can add some distance to it. I can get a little bit more speed and acceleration out of that. But those are just easy things to do, is just sit in your defensive position. If you want to try to add a back pedal and then an open up, we can do that as well. So there's levels to it or things that we can stack on top of each other to make sure that we're moving in the right direction, even for our defensive guys. Now to go at steeper angles, same concept. I'm going to drop, I'm going to open up, and then if I have to, I'm going to T-step, and I'm going to swing and get into another position. If I'm playing defense, and all of a sudden I'm crossover stepping, and my offensive guy turns to go the other way, I'm going to T-step, I'm going to drop into that position. I can still use those angles, use this as my rudder to be able to get out and move and get into those directions, to be able to go 90, 135, and go from there. Now that we get into that and we want to increase our intensity of change directions, we increase the length at which I'm running into those change directions, right? And so from that, I started out at 2, 3 yards, maybe 5. All I have to do is just push it back further and go to 7, 10, 12, 15 yards, so that I am coming in and I am having to break more forces from my body at a greater speed. And we can build into that by starting with a lower level of reps, or we can start out at a shorter distance, get some reps there, and then lengthen it out and get a few more reps at a longer distance. And it doesn't have to be a lot of volume, but we can prescribe this over time, right? And over time, I can build the volume to be able to handle the demands that are about to come at me. We're gonna have to come at a greater distance so we can decelerate and get to more of a zero stop to be able to get out to 90. At those shorter distances, you can go 90, you can go 135, you can even go 180, right? It's just going to be a little bit more taxing because I'm going to have to stop and come out of it at a steeper angle. So I'm going to have to come down to 0 on my speed. But now as we do that, we can still hit those shorter angles at a faster speed, so we can make sure that we can maintain that speed coming out, but then we also want to make sure that we're adding those 135s, those 90s to be able to handle the demands. 60, 90, 130, 180 are going to be the hardest ones that we can do. So we want to make sure that we can also get those as well. So then once we get those foundations of skills down, then we build off of it, right? Now I can come more of an attacking manner. I can be able to sit there and face dodge. I can have a soccer ball at my feet to be able to come out and hit and move the way I want to. And then I can build more skills off of that to be able to have a half, quarter, full step and be able to move and get out of things. And so with that, the building of the foundation of change of direction allows me to build more skills, to build my game, to become the best athlete I can. And then you can start messing with things and have fun with it, right? Now I can try things to be able to know that I'm going to be in good positions to make me successful. And we use that part to whole practice like we talked about last week. I make sure that I can get into position. I make sure that I can move from position to position, and then I build speed. And once I build speed, then I try to perfect that and get as fast as I can in that while being deceptive and still have good foundation to be able to make sure that I'm changing directions and doing it in a manner that I'm going to be the best athlete that I can. Or working with a ball at your feet. Ooh. Good save, good save. Oh, man. Damn wind out here. Then we can start incorporating those things with a ball at our feet